Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 248, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, Vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we are already debunking one of the rumors that was spread
Didn't take long.
Reactive Consciousness. It happened in the 10-minute span in between recording.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been 2 days for you, but like as soon as we finish recording RC, it's like, okay.
So apparently the Fire Emblem rumor, the one that I thought would be more legitimate than the
Metal Gear
one, is not legitimate.
It's too bad because those games are good.
Yeah, and also it would be worth their time.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are not here for that. We are here to, of course, talk about more stuff that you should grab on PSN when you can. We went over a lot of Vita, PSP, and PS1 titles, as well as some PS2 titles, as I recall, in our previous episode last week.
And I will say, well, go ahead, finish up.
Oh, I was just going to say the real start of the show is going to be PS3 stuff, because obviously that has the highest budget.
Yeah, I did just want to update something that I think I forgot to mention last time about that.
Sure.
One of them, for the two of you who care, is Shadow Tower. It's like Kingsfield, but not quite, and that game's quite expensive physically, so if you're really into it, get it for a couple bucks now.
My X station.
Yeah, I know. And the other thing is various Armored Core games. The actual PS1 Armored Core games, there's only one of them, the very first Armored Core. But they do have a few of the PSP games, which are, I think, just inferior ports of the PS2 counterparts.
I think they're arena games, if I remember right, or something like that.
I don't even know. But in any case, those also exist.
Gotcha. Well, there was definitely a fair share of From Software games, believe it or not, in that catalog, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, like none of the Kingsfields, but I think the first Echo Knight might be available.
First Echo Knight is
and
available.
That game's pretty hard to get now. Like, that game was hard to get back then. Who even heard of it?
Yeah,
and same goes for Shadow Tower. Like, what? We got Echo Knight 1, we got Shadow Tower, we have one Armored Core game on PS1, and, like, I think 3 PSP ones? Mm-hmm. I don't know about FromSoft's PS2 titles, although Eternal Ring is on the PlayStation 4's PSN.
I think Forever Kingdom might be on there.
Wow, right. That's obscure. That's the prequel to Evergrace.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody knows that.
I don't know whether I'm spinning lies or not, but
that's really esoteric, even for me. Like, I was looking up FromSoft titles at the time, and even I didn't know that Forever Kingdom was a thing that existed.
But yeah, we do want to get to PS3 games, because this is going to be the start of the show. And right at the top, I have to say this: if you do not have a physical copy of this, it's probably going to be one of those titles that people are going to get probably bid up, just because of the popularity of it.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that this game is cheap anymore, especially if you want one of the collectors, nice collector's editions. But Metal Gear Solid 4, we talked about there being a rumor that this may be ported later, which I believe it may be ported eventually, but it is going to be extremely difficult, because this was a game that was made specifically for PS3, and there's a reason why PS3 games are not backwards compatible with anything. They have a very unique architecture. It's kind of, I don't know whether this is like a good comparison, but it's kind of like Sega Saturn's so weird that like it's very difficult to port anything from it.
Well, similarly, what I was also kind of thinking, although this might have been the Blu-ray technology as opposed to the hardware of the PS3, but isn't that why a lot of the PS3 ports weren't very good? Because people knew how to make stuff for the 360?
Well, it was a cell processor as opposed to a powered PC architecture. So the way that the processors worked was completely different. So you could theoretically make a game for the PS3 from the ground up that would take advantage of the cell processor and make it like even better than the ones put out for PC and Xbox 360 at the time, but
it
wouldn't be worth your time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be worth your time, so people just came up with inferior ports of those powered PC versions for the cell.
Yeah, that's why like Bayonetta is like
Vanquish too. Yeah.
Well, not even Vanquish. I'm just saying like Bayonetta like the worst version of that game is on the PS3.
I should also let people know that Anarchy Reigns is also on the PS3 if you want that. That was a platinum game featuring
That's a
Bayonetta.
solid game. Bayonetta was DLC, but yes.
Yeah. And also the character from Mad World is the main character of that.
Yeah, he's just the main guy. That was the biggest surprise to me. And by the way, that game's soundtrack is so good.
It's not the best game in the world, but it is something fun to pick up, especially if you like those characters and you like Platinum style, for sure.
One thing I will mention, by the way, we had addressed on Reactive Consciousness that some games, maybe not through Sony's own fault necessarily, but some games might be losing their ability to be patched. Obviously, this means that if you do pick up these games, you should install them and patch them anyway, but I want to give a special shout out to Metal Gear Solid 4 because one of its patches includes trophy support. It was an older game, it didn't have that.
Yeah, and Rumble, I think, too.
Well, no, Rumble, I thought it, no, I think it had Rumble support, but it came out in an era where you may very well have had a PlayStation 3 controller that did not have Rumble support. There's one particular part of the game. You know how Metal Gear Solid 1, if you're playing with mono audio, the game will know and shout it out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a part like that in Metal Gear Solid 4 where depending on whether you have a controller with Rumble or not, something will change in a character's dialogue.
Which was a thing because...
Well, no, I know, because when we were in college, my friend Luminaire was playing the game, and he got the PS3 super early, so he didn't have Rumble in his controller. And it's like, really? But the PS1 and 2 controllers had that, but early PS3 didn't.
Yeah, and going along with that, a lot of early games did not have trophy support because that didn't get added until much later.
Yeah, trophies didn't exist. I remember first hearing about it. I mean, this wasn't the first game that did it, but I remember first hearing about it, I think, for like Soul Calibur 4, and I was like, what is this? Like, it's a ripoff of Achievements or something? But yeah, like, not that anybody gives a shit, but Golden Axe Beast Rider doesn't have trophy support. Valkyria Chronicles, it has support, well, not on the PS3, but it has support on the PS4 and Steam, but like the PS3 version of Valkyria Chronicles did the Nintendo Wii and Switch thing for some games where it would have like in-game achievements, like you would earn medals in-game. Like this signifies that you've killed 1,000 enemies or whatever, but there was no PlayStation account that recognized that.
Oh, Lotus, we even forgot Valkyria Chronicles 2 for PSP. That's a good digital one to get.
I think I might have mentioned that.
Okay.
Although there's also the Valkyria Chronicles 3, but that's Japan only.
Japan only. Yeah, that one's only worth really, like, pirating anyway because you get it with the English translation on it.
That's the whole thing. And by the way, I think I mentioned 2 because I think I addressed specifically that it used to be on the Vita store, but then it wasn't, but you could still transfer it from your PS3. Like, what is this? What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Also, kind of in the same conversation, Lair was greatly upgraded to have not just motion controls.
Yeah, like the game's still apparently not great, but like it was like unplayable because nobody wanted to do that.
Yeah. Now, there's the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. I realize this is on the Xbox games, the consoles, but it is not on PS4. So
yeah, and it was also Legacy Collection, which I think might be PlayStation 3 exclusive.
Yeah, and I did want to mention this because Peace Walker, the PS3 version of Peace Walker is the version to play, and it is an integral part of the Metal Gear Solid story. It's really a shame that they did not give it a numbering.
Yeah, like to put things into perspective for people who don't know the timeline, Metal Gear Solid 5 is a sequel to Peace Walker.
Correct. And it directly references lots of stuff that happens in it.
Yeah, Ground Zeroes is like, remember these characters from Peace Walker? Like, oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, and oh god, it makes you feel like shit.
I still have not played Phantom Pain. I've only played Ground Zeroes, but that was, you can literally beat that game in 15 minutes if you skip everything. But that is an uncomfortable sit.
That might have one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever experienced in a video game in it.
It was up there. For me, it was a particular audio log whose content I will not address.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
The cutscenes were rough, but it was all audio, baby.
No, it's that audio log. That audio log is rough. That is exactly what I'm referencing.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, so I did want to mention this for shmup fans out there. I have talked about the M2 Shot Triggers version of Ketsui Destiny before. Lotus will remember it because it has a pun name.
Yeah, Destiny, Death-tiny, yeah.
Um,
It's like what I said last time about Darksiders 2, the Definitive Edition, because you play as Death.
Well, not only that, but like it's an even greater pun in Japanese because it's like desutini, like either way. I think.
Well, yeah, because death, it sounds like desu, but desu I think also means like something like it is.
Yeah.
So that it's a
tiny.
phrase anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, there is a version of this game called Ketsui Destiny on PS4, which is super excellent. It's a really great port. However, the PS3 version that came out only in Japan, but it is available digitally and physically, does have an additional mode that was only made for it and was not ported to that version. So, and it is a really good mode. It's the X mode. It is absolutely worth your time if you like cave shmups. And it's absolutely worth having both versions, the PS3 and the PS4 version. So definitely keep an eye out for that. There is also going to be a lone Yakuza game left on the PS3 from Westerner perspectives, I should say, because the Edo era Yakuza games are being left on.
Oh yeah, there's
PS3
Ishin and
as well.
Kenzan. Although maybe there's a chance in the future they could be localized now that people are aware that Westerners very much like the series.
Yeah,
maybe. But yeah, as far as an actually localized one, yes, though the one you were alluding to was Yakuza Dead Souls, which it's a shooter. Like there are 4 different characters you could play as, but they all play identically, except Kiryu has one weapon that the others don't. But other than that, everyone plays literally the same because it's just a run and gun. But if you ever wanted to know what it was like to play a familiar map, like Kamurocho, except the buildings are all broken and there's zombies everywhere, man, this is the game for you. And it still feels like a Yakuza game. You can go into, I think, yeah, you could do karaoke. I think you could do hostess clubs. Like, it still has aspects of regular Yakuza games, except when you go outside, you're murdering literally dozens of zombies.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
Yeah. It's so funny, too, because the opening cutscene, like, not when you start the game, but when you, like, turn the game on, it has Kiryu, like, I think he's killing a bunch of zombies, and he enters a hostess club, and all the hostesses are, like, waiting for him, like, oh, hello, welcome to the club, and the guy running the place is like, really? Like, we have a customer? This guy must really like hostess clubs. It's super funny. Like, who's doing this shit during the zombie apocalypse? Why are we even open?
I might also throw in there, this is not an exclusive to PS3. In fact, you can get it on PC right now. But
wait, Dead Souls is on PC?
No. What I was going to say is Binary Domain is also on PS3.
Okay, yeah, I was like,
worth your time as well.
What?
By the same team.
Yeah, Binary Domain. That's one of those games where you would never guess it was made by anyone having to do with Yakuza. But when you watch the cutscenes, they feel like a Yakuza cutscenes.
Yeah.
There's just that presentation storytelling about it. But then it's a run and gun arcade style shooter.
Yeah. Moving on from that, there is a physical copy of this is going for a lot now.
Suddenly.
But,
I literally got mine out of a bargain bin back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think I picked this one up too. Tokyo Jungle, Fat Princess, When Vikings Attack, and Sound Shapes. Out of the two of those, the two that are worth playing right now are probably going to be Tokyo Jungle and Sound Shapes. I don't know the other two. Fat Princess was a pretty fun game back in the day, but it is also like an online title, so it's your experience is not going to be the same.
Tokyo Jungle is a clever concept. You play as animals in the post-apocalypse. Like, the humans are dead, so what do you do now?
And it's a roguelike, right?
I actually don't know. I'm aware that you can change and kind of like, quote, upgrade the animals you are.
So yeah, you start off as a Shiba Inu, I think, or a
Makes
Corgi.
sense.
And then you upgrade upgrade to like higher animals on the food chain. Is what happens as time goes on. But it's supposed to take place in like a nature reclaimed Tokyo.
Picture. Well, I mean, Vice, I know you haven't actually played the game, but picture Nier Automata, or even The Last of Us. Like, it's been like there are some buildings that just have stuff growing in them because you can't live there now.
Geez, you can even just like Will Smith's like the Omega Man or whatever that was called.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tokyo Jungle is pretty cool because like every time your animal dies, you have the ability to move on to progeny, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So it's almost like Rogue Legacy, where
yeah,
you do a new file, but let's just make it into canon. It's your kid.
Yeah, and then eventually you get the ability to upgrade to like the next one.
Yes, some greater animal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then this one seemed pretty cool. Battle Princess of Arcadius. It looks kind of similar to. I think this game was put out by NIS.
I heard about this. Yeah, the NIS games, especially the PS2 and 3 era. Well, honestly, even going into 4, really, like they definitely have a look, like the Disgaea look with like the art style, where like just at a glance, you're like, I don't know what the title of this game is, but I promise you, it's Nipponichi.
Yeah, well, this one looks more like a Vanillaware game than their house style. But the Vanillaware games, as you know, look really beautiful. So. Yes. It is worth your time in that regard. Let me see here. Black Knight Sword, which is a
Suda51, baby.
Suda51 game.
And it's also made... Yeah, it's Grasshopper, but that's right. I almost was ready to look it up. This was also in collaboration, I believe, with the studio that Suda51 also worked with to produce Sin Mora.
Yeah, and we Cinemora is available on current consoles, so I'm not going to urge you to seek that one out. But since we're in that conversation, get Short Piece while you're at it, if you have not already done so.
Oh yeah,
try to get the European version.
Tsukigame, I forget what it's called, but like Ranko Suki something. But yeah, Short Piece, Peace.
Yeah,
it's actually, now that I think about it, I never thought about this before. Short Piece.
Yeah,
they're
all short pieces. Yeah.
No, not even that. It's a Quantum of Solace.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, but yeah, short piece was. We actually covered this on the Suda51 episode.
Yes.
I absolutely recommend even just getting this to watch the anime shorts that are contained, because I think you get them if you download the game. The game is the 5th short piece.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. The actual game is not only not the first entry, it's like not even close.
It's the 5th. Yeah, it's the last one. But all of them are absolutely worth your time, especially if you're an animation fan. But yeah, I wanted to throw that out there. And
by the way, really quickly, speaking of animation fan, this is esoteric, and I question whether it's worth it. It might be. You know how Zone of the Enders 2 has been ported a bunch of times? It's on PS3 and 4. I'm still going to shout this out. The Zone of the Enders HD collection, which is 1 and 2, because 1 was not brought to the PS4. 1 and 2 are on PS3, and you can argue that 2 is better on PS4 because it has the VR support.
Sure.
But even so, the HD on PS3 has 1, and it has a unique animation, like intro by like, I think it's like, what was the studio? Like Suncoast or something? Or is that the video store? It was Sunrise, I believe it was. It's just this cool anime style intro cinematic that you're not going to see anywhere else.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely worth your time, and there was like a heavy anime component to Zone of the Enders as a media franchise anyway.
Yeah, there was an anime series.
Yeah. So, I definitely recommend anything, Kojima related as well. So that's absolutely worth your time. There's Folklore, which is a very unique early PS3 game that used use
the six axis
6-axis
to great effect. And by the way, this was like this is a PS3 only game. This is not PS3 360.
No.
So like the graphics and presentation are just beautiful. Oh, by the way, speaking of PS3 versus 360, and speaking of patches, if you do end up getting the Zone of the Enders HD collection, at first it was clearly better on 360, but with patches, it's better on PS3. So keep that in mind.
So stupid. It went back and forth way too much.
Well, yeah, it was bad to a point of, I think the patch included like eliminating the original remasterer dev like from the credits. It's like, no, we'll take over. I mean, it might have even been Blue Point.
Konami didn't do very well with its remastering, so
was that Blue Point that took over afterward?
Yes, Blue Point fixed it, I think.
Yeah, that's Blue Point's thing. Like
Blue Point's
Night Dive remasters PC games that you can't get anymore and makes them on available consoles. Blue Point remasters, or with Shadow of the Colossus and Demon Souls, like remakes as close to the original product as possible. That's their thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Folklore is absolutely worth your time because it is a unique game that you won't. There's no other experience like it, and
brilliant presentation and soundtrack. It's very repetitive. You play through the same levels with two different characters, different enemy types, but it's a very interesting story.
It's basically like demon fishing.
Yeah, because you'll try capturing a demon and it's like shake the controller back and forth, or shake it up and down, or like change it up because this demon's trickier or whatever. You get used to it.
Moving on to this, I still don't think that a lot of people know this, but Portal 2 is unique on the PS3.
Yes.
It has two unique DLC packs that are idiosyncratic only to the PS3. Not even the PC version has these DLC packs. One of them is a move-centric one, and the other one is an additional, I think, co-op edition. So the co-op mode of Portal 2 is one of the most fun parts about Portal 2, and they added to it, and then they added a move, centered.
Was it like Bridge
DLC.
Simulator or something?
Well, no, they basically, you made bridges with this expanding like sheet of metal in it, and you use the move controller. But I guess maybe somebody said that it was similar to the Bridge Simulator or whatever. But I think that's its own thing, if I'm not mistaken. But I just thought that was really compelling, and it's good. It's really good, and it has its own videos as well, cinematics. So I think it's a really well put together thing. Gladys is in it. Is really pretty neat. Let me see if I can find it. Was it the peer review campaign? I don't know.
Idea.
Yeah, but we'll move on just because of time here.
And there's also the best game ever made, Mindjack, where you take over people's minds. The concept is actually brilliant, but I heard the game is incredibly janky and awkward. What's really funny, though, is that to have the game be playable, because it's a shooter, whoever you control just, like, inexplicably has a gun, so it's super funny to, like, I think I saw, like, an old Angry Joe review of it, where he, like, took over some little girl walking on the street, and now she's just has a shotgun because your player needs one. It's very funny.
Wow. Yeah, and this game is also famous for like explaining the concept of the game like way into the
you're like 3 or 4 hours into the game, and then it's like you could take the minds of other people. It's like, I've been doing that. Like, what do you like? That was weird.
So funny.
It was so just funny. Like Yakuza Kiwami 1, where it's like somebody captured Haruka. Who was it? Goro Majima. And you're like, Majima? And it like flashes to his face like you don't remember, even though you've been fighting him constantly with Majima Everywhere mode, with the new mode added to the game. You're like, oh. Well,
But yeah, I don't know. But
oh, by the way, I got a Konami shout out for you, by the way, and I
oh
think
yeah,
this might also be on the 360. And I think it's also not great because nobody talks about it. Never Dead,
oh yeah,
where you're never dead. You
yeah.
get your
Nobody
head cut
liked
off
that.
and it doesn't matter.
It's notable for being like the it's notable for being the whatchamacallit. It's like a when you protect a person, it's like a type of mission that everybody hates.
Escort.
It's an escort mission, the game. Yeah. And a lot of people hated that about it
Yeah,
because
fair enough.
escort missions are the worst part of most games.
Yeah, the
So
only game that did it like perfectly was
Resident Evil
Bioshock
4.
Infinite because according to the plot, you're escorting her, but she's never in any actual danger.
Yeah, no, she only helps you. She never hinders you.
That's another thing. Yeah, during battle, it's like, oh no, I gotta make sure she doesn't die. Like, no, she's making sure you don't die. She literally just beams in health items in a way that makes sense according to the game's narrative.
Yeah. There's also Heavenly Sword, which is a Ninja Theory game that
Yeah, that
was
game's alright.
pretty all right. Yeah, it wasn't the best game in the world, but pretty all right.
It has unskippable cutscenes, by the way, so like when you meet bosses, you have like a dialogue with them and you set up the fight. I hope you like that scene, man, because those boss fights are hard and you just gotta sit through that. It's very annoying. But overall, I like the game and the presentation and the storytelling.
Yeah, it's notable for a nice mocapped performance by Andy Serkis.
Yes. I think
in a
he's
video
the
game.
villain, like Bohan.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's such an asshole. He's like comically an asshole. Like he's such a douche that you like aren't even mad.
Then there's Child of Eden. We mentioned this on Reactive Consciousness.
Of course, yeah, it's res in HD basically.
Yeah, but this is a really fun game to play with the Move controller. This was compatible with the Kinect on the 360, but the Move version is actually a lot more responsive.
And we mentioned this on Reactive as well, but it has 3D support if you actually have a 3D TV.
And quite possibly the best 3D TV experience that I've ever experienced, ever. It's really, really fucking good. And The Darkness, which has not been ported to PC or anything since it came out other than PS3 and 360. I absolutely recommend picking this game up. This is by Starlight, I think. The makers of like the Syndicate reboot and also Payday and a few other notable first-person shooters. But The Darkness was really cool because it had a unique gimmick where you basically had to shoot out all the lights as you went past it in the environment so that you weren't in a hindered state.
Oh, that's clever. Like I've seen stuff like that with games where the enemy will spot you, so shoot out the lights. But like as a survival mechanic and as like the whole game centered around it, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really neat because all of your powers rely on being part of the darkness. So a lot of what you have to do is like it was very unique to have that much environmental interaction at the time, and still kind of is to some degree because I don't know of any other game that uses it like this. Yeah, you're in a much more weakened state in the light. And also, of course, you can't do anything stealthy. So the sequel is available elsewhere, but it's not nearly as good or as ambitious. So and it's by a completely different team. So definitely be on the lookout for this. It was a really good early generation hit, and I think I should also mention Prey here, the original Prey, not the reboot
not the
Prey.
space station Prey.
Yeah, the original Prey was a really good and ambitious game that has been lost to time because of SEO. Number one, it's hard to look it up now because the newer one is out, and the newer one's good too. but it's basically unrelated. Um, but the old one had some really neat perspective changes. It kind of had like a portal-esque moments in it, but they did
Okay.
all kinds of different things with like size changing and things like that, and with the way that you walked on walls and ceilings, and it was a way with it. It played with gravity at the same time as all that stuff.
Sure.
It was a really neat, ambitious game. It is impossible to buy anywhere other than I think digital stores for these two consoles, the PS3 and the 360. I don't I don't think you can't buy it for PC at all. You need to pirate it in order to play it on PC. So I absolutely recommend this game, or at least picking up a cheap physical copy of it and updating it, because it was a fun game. It was a lot of fun, and it was a good early hit on the system. There's also 3D Game Heroes, which is another From Software game.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if it was made by FromSoft. They obviously had a part in it. It's also Atlas.
They published Atlas published it, I think.
Yeah, it's weird because it's Zelda on PS3, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like an overhead perspective. I think mostly overhead. And it's got a Moonlight Sword. It's FromSoft. You gotta have a Moonlight Sword. I think it's New Game Plus only though, because you need a certain number of things to unlock it, which is more than you can acquire in a single playthrough. It's like maxing out your number of Estus flasks in Dark Souls 1. You cannot do it in one playthrough.
Yeah.
It's a really solid title though, and it's actually charming.
Yeah, I this was a good one. I also remember a lot of games from this era. There were some really good licensed titles. Do you remember the Wanted game during this era?
I know of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it played or anything.
So it was similar to, it was a third-person shooter similar to like Gears of War or something like that. But the gimmick was really novel at the time, and it was a good game on top of it. But you could curve your bullets just like in the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
So like the big thing was that your character could shoot around corners.
Yeah, well, that reminds me of Enter the Matrix, where I know that game is a joke, but the ability to go into like the slow-mo time, like in the Matrix, that was still cool. It was. You got to admit it.
Yeah, well, Wanted was actually a good game though. So it's absolutely worth your time. And in the same breath, I also wanted to mention the Wolverine game from this era as well.
Yeah, that game was weirdly good, and like this was way before Logan, the movie. Obviously, this was when Wolverine was still in rated PG-13 movies. Yeah. But like the Wolverine game was fucking violent. Like that was, that stuff you wanted to see in the movie, but can't. Except you kind of can with Logan. This is the game for you.
Yeah, and that game's great, and I think it's also really hard to kill him in that one as well. Like,
yeah, I mean his literal power is being almost impossible to kill.
Yeah, so I recommend licensed titles that won't get a port ever. Those two are up there because they're attached to movie licenses.
And by the way, this is not a movie license tangent, but this is a tangent from Wanted specifically with like a cool gun game with a gimmick. It's not on our list, I don't think, but Wet, where the gimmick is you control both guns that you aim, like independently of one another. It's not like Tomb Raider where you're dual wielding, but you aim at the same point. Like you can free aim both guns.
I really recommend that game. I feel like that game was very
funny too.
Very underrated. Nobody played it at the time, and it has almost a Suda 51-esque style. If you ask
kind
me.
of, yeah. I still remember when you were showing me one of the levels. There's like
the music's amazing too.
Well, yeah, it is. But like, there's one thing that this was kind of popular to do back in the day, especially the God of War PS2 era, where you have to mash a button for a QTE.
Sure.
So there was one of those things where you were trying to open a door, so as you mash the button, you just see you're like kicking the door repeatedly until it finally opens. But the part that got me was she's just kicking it, and at one point she goes like, "Fucking door!" and that just cracked me up. I just didn't expect that.
It's a good one. I absolutely recommend tracking that down. And there's also Bionic Commando Rearmed 2, which is only on console. it never got a PC port like the first Rearm did. I absolutely recommend you pick up the PS3 or 360 one while you're at it, and that was digital only, so I don't think there was any version that went to a physical copy. So,
oh, and by the way, considering this is Rearmed 2,
yeah,
and it's digital only, speaking of, the game's mediocre, but the writing is funny. There's Eat Lead, Return of Mad Hazard, which, number one, that's already locked to the PS3 and I think the 360. But two, it has a prequel, but like some arcadey looking digital only title.
Yeah, similar to like
called.
Metal Slug or something like that.
Yeah, it is.
There's also Mamoru Kun Curse, which for a long while was a Greph game. That is the company made famous by the most famous Greph game was like Gradius 5. But this was a shmup that was Japan only for a while, but finally came digital only to the United States and Europe in English. Absolutely worth your time. Similar to Kiki Kai Kai or Pocky and Rocky. Cute little witch girl, and kind of like a twin sticky kind of overhead shmup gameplay that's a lot of fun. And then there's like the Fist of the North Star, Warriors titles. Ken's Rage 1 and 2. Probably just buy the second one, right?
Yeah, the second one is way more comprehensive. It covers Hokuto no Ken 1 and 2, like the series, like the sequel series, and it just plays better in general. I'll just give a shout out to a little bit of 1, though, because it has like a sort of what if set of scenarios. With One Piece, Pirate Warriors 1, I mean, 3 and 4 kind of override it, but it has gotten to a point, though, where Pirate Warriors 4, like, you skip entire arcs because it's like, dude, we gotta have a game here. We're not gonna make every single arc in One Piece. Whereas in the first Pirate Warriors, you'll fight somebody like Don Krieg, which isn't even worth mentioning in Pirate Warriors 4 because he's like a minor boss in the grand scheme of things. So if you want to see super specific stuff, I guess there's that. And Pirate Warriors 2, the entire story is like not canon, so you don't know what's gonna happen. So like I love stuff like that because like I already know what happens in the series, but I have no idea what's happening in this.
Nice.
Well, and one more thing, by the way, this is on the list, but we skipped over it real quick. Siren Blood Curse.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
This was released episodically on American PlayStation Network, and nobody liked that. But you could buy you could import the whole thing on disc. And I don't know if it was episodic on European PSN. I'd have to look into that. But the disc is the whole game. It's basically a remake of the first game, but I heard it described in a very interesting way, where the creator said, imagine that the original Siren game was a real-life occurrence, like it actually happened. Siren Blood Curse would be like the movie adaptation of that event. Which
it's like if you watch Scream 2, where they made a movie adaptation of the events of Scream 1.
Like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, the whole movie was like a commentary on horror movies.
Yeah.
What if we went even more meta?
Yeah, well, that entire series is like that. It's like, okay, well, what if we're making fun of sequels now?
That's like the best decision they could have made.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Craven, leave it to him to be a master of his own genre. That he helped found and then ended his life with it. It's like he made 4 Scream movies, and all the Scream movies are good. I quite enjoy them. But I think we're getting to the end of this. The last one I have is Under Defeat HD, which was a post-mortem Dreamcast game, but it did come out on disc in America. I think it was an Amazon
exclusive.
Amazon exclusive. But I think there is a digital version of that. So that is one of the best. That's also another Graph game, I should add. That is one of the best shmups I've ever played, and it is not a bullet hell game. You play. It is like you are helicopters in this game, and it's a lot more manageable than a bullet hell game. I absolutely recommend it. It is beginner friendly, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. That's all I have for now. I mean, we covered a lot of the really good ones. But I'm sure there are plenty that we left out. Maybe you
there's
give
more.
us some comments.
We'll think of something.
Yeah, it'll come to us while we're taking the shower.
Asura's Wrath,
Oh yeah. I would
the
actually,
DLC ending, by the way, that's fucking important.
I would recommend also the Prince of Persia game that only has an ending.
Yeah, but I think isn't that on GOG now?
Not the ending.
Huh.
Not the epilogue. The epilogue is exclusive to the consoles version.
That's really bizarre.
Yeah, but I was gonna say that if you're gonna get it these days, I mean, you might as well get Asura's Wrath for like the 360 because it is a backwards compatible game.
True.
On the Xbox One. So, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
For fan stuff, then.
So as far as fan stuff, we have one comment from Living Corpse. Every year I plan to do an April Fool's joke comment for you guys to read, and every year I forget. Though to be fair, this year and last year didn't put me in the spirit for April Fool's. I didn't even enjoy Halloween last year because I wasn't in the mood.
Yeah.
Fuck you, 2020, and by extension, 2021, because it's a continuation of 2020.
At least we have optimism.
This is probably going to rub salt in the wounds, but 2020's Halloween was my favorite Halloween in years because I'm Mr. Grumpy Old Man who doesn't like his doorbell constantly rung, and everybody was too afraid to like walk up to people and take candy from them. So our neighborhood, everybody just, I don't even think people talked. We just did it. We would put candy out like on a table on the lawn. Like, you know how some people aren't home, there's a basket that says take one or whatever. Everybody basically did that. So everybody was like silently trick-or-treating, and if you wanted to like go out your door and look, you could see them, but nobody was ringing doorbell. It was the best. Like damn, where have you been my whole life?
Get off my lawn, damn kid.
I don't care about my lawn. Just don't keep ringing my damn doorbell and making me get up and come to you.
I can't record my Let's Plays.
It's Halloween. You're ruining my video games.
Mom, get the doorbell. Kids are back!
You're supposed to watch the door and quickly open it before they ring the bell.
There's another teenager dressed as the Joker. This one's Joaquin Phoenix.
It's the new iteration of Joker.
Mom!
Oh, what a friendly little clown. Which one are you? Mom, it's obviously the Joker. Isn't it from that Stephen King movie? No, Mom, it's a different clown. Jesus. That actually did kind of happen once, by the way. There was one year where my neighbors, like, they're like maybe a little older than I am, but they dressed up as the main characters. I really apologize, I don't know the names. I've never actually seen the movie, which is a sin, but the characters from Labyrinth.
Oh, okay.
Like, sure. The Goblin King Jareth, but I don't know the girl or the baby name.
Jennifer. Her name's
okay,
Jennifer. But
they dressed up as those. But, like, Jareth's costume is somewhat similar to, like the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Sure.
So my mom was like, "Is that what you're doing?" I was like, "No, not quite."
you mean like the Ron Perlman Beauty and the Beast, probably, right?
No, like the Disney where he's wearing like the ballroom scene where he's wearing like the blue.
Okay, sure.
Like the color scheme was different, but aesthetically it's kind of similar. So my mom was like, "Beauty and the Beast, maybe." It was kind of funny.
Gotcha.
So our question. And we did get a question this week, so once again we have one more after this one.
Yeah, we need a backlog, guys. Come on.
Yeah. So Fakafan asks, are there game mechanics that are clearly broken or erroneous or crappy that you will overlook because the rest of the game is good enough or because there are workarounds? I have an easy answer for this one, which is Suikoden 2, a lot of which is broken as shit, some of which I even use to my advantage. But that game's so damn good. The game's brilliant. But Suikoden 2 has, like, there's this giant set of double doors that you need to trigger some story thing where the guards are like, very well, come on in. But Suikoden 2 introduces block pushing, which was not a thing in the first game. But for no reason, you could just, like, maybe the doors are programmed in the same way as boxes, but you could just push the double doors. Like, it doesn't make sense. You just push the sprite, like, out of the way. And you could access an area of the game that you shouldn't be able to get to for hours. So, like, everything is way over leveled, and you're like, oh no. There's also glitches that you can exploit, like maxing your money by buying and selling in a certain combination. You could actually use the glitches. But there's a part where like a singer's voice is not included, so it's just like, allow me to sing for you, and you literally sit there in silence for a full minute, and you wonder if your game crashed. Like, there's stuff like that which fucking sucks, but Suikoden 2 is so good, and even with all that crap, it's still arguably the best game in the entire series, and there's like 11 games.
Yeah. I kind of don't like a lot of crafting systems in most games. This is more of a general thing, generalization.
Yeah, this isn't broken, but rather, like, yeah, crappy in your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of them are half-assed, and or they're too complicated for their own good, to the point where it's not fun. I think it's very difficult to get a crafting system correct, and I feel like you should be able to find most of the items that you need organically, and you shouldn't have to go out there and seek them out unless you really want to.
Yeah, unless it's like some super high-end secret item as opposed to just something you need.
Yeah, so I'm gonna throw that on there because I don't always hate it, but I do hate it when it's overly complicated to the point where I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother with this shit. Like I like it when the game will allow you to purchase like some of the stuff needed for that rather than having to find it, because like sometimes it's just not worth my time. It really isn't. Anything else?
I'm trying to think of other things that that have workarounds that are broken, but there are workarounds. But this is kind of tricky, to be perfectly honest. Like, I mean, Suikoden, sometimes you could actually use those glitches, including the door opening thing, and just insta level.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of something which is like nothing but detrimental. But oh, don't worry, the rest of the game is so good. Or like, oh, but if you fudge something, you'll be able to get past it in this weird way or whatever. I'm trying to think of stuff like that.
I mean, there's like destructible weaponry, like that's something that I don't like most of the time, like the vast majority.
Yeah,
of the time.
System Shock 2 has that, but it takes a while for them to degrade, and it's very easy to repair them. So like you almost don't notice it.
Like in Breath of the Wild's like the only time where I tolerated it because it was just that good. And
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a damn Zelda game. Like, what do you like? Yeah,
well,
it's not going to be a bad game.
Not only that, but Nintendo designed it well. Like
Sure.
There are so many alternatives to fight with and find while you're doing that. In fact, you could pick something up off of the enemies that you're fighting right then and there.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. I think Wind Waker sort of introduced that.
Yeah.
You could pick up some enemy weapons.
That was really cool about that too. That was like the first Zelda game that I can think of where you could do something like that. You could just straight up grab one of the enemy's weapons.
And I think that would break, but you still had your perma sword, so it didn't really matter. It was just kind of like, oh, a little bonus weapon. All right.
So if you're fighting like a band of moblins or goblins in Breath of the Wild, like if you hit one of them with an arrow, you can get a sword back, and then you can clearly, you'll have enough skill even with the bare minimum sword that you get from killing that guy to get through things. So I never minded it in that game because it was so well designed that it compensated for the fact that you had that limitation. But there are other games that make that very annoying.
You know what? I have a crappy game mechanic. The original Nier, so what will be Nier Replicant when the remake comes out.
Are you a replicant or a replicant?
Oh, you definitely replicant. But the growing crops and like doing the hybrid growing for flowers, because you have to wait.
Oh, that's terrible.
Like 6, 12, and 24, I think, like hours in real time. So fuck that. So I just kept manipulating my PlayStation 3's clock.
Yeah, no, that...
Fuck you. I'm not waiting literally 24 hours to find out, oh, it didn't work.
That's a fucking terrible mechanic.
Yeah, that's atrocious.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on that one. That requiring any amount of time in order to like real world time in order to wait for something is always annoying because you might
Yeah,
not have enough time to do it.
the only time I ever see that is like dailies with like online games, which that's another thing that pissed me off, by the way, is Zelda Triforce Heroes has dailies. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I know you can play online, but it's not like a competitive thing. It's just like, let me just get the stuff for my costumes that are maybe a little useful but don't break the game or something. I don't have a workaround for that one. That one's just annoying. But it's a Zelda game though, so if you're playing it with like the friends, then it's a fun experience.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of other stuff though that's just like jank or something. I mean, like I was gonna mention Ride to Hell has a lot of broken stuff, but like that's not worth continuing. I only did it because it was funny. Like I played it because it was bad, so that's not really a fair answer. The bonus is you never know what kind of new broken thing you're going to encounter next because, man, I got some new ones. That was a surprise.
I just I think that the ones that I picked are going to be the ones that I certainly.
Yeah, I'll still probably say Suikoden 2 because like that game has a lot of problematic broken aspects of the game. Like it was badly localized, and even the translation is jank. Like it's a bad localization.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still considered the best game in the series. Like that's how you know it's a good game. Like that's ridiculous. Despite all of this shit that is nothing but bad. Like it's still the most popular game of the if you've played them all. I have not, but that's what I hear. I look forward to trying more, by the way.
That's the only thing that only ones I can think of. Anything else that you wanted to mention?
Broken, erroneous, or crappy. I don't know. Now I'm just trying to think of bad translations, but I mean, like if the game is good, then I'll take like a bit of jank in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one thing I do find kind of funny is Zone of the Enders 2. It's not a bad translation. Well, it kind of is in terms of sounding natural, but it's like it's a more direct, like literal translation. So you'll have stuff like you'll hear this in other games too. Like Code Vein did this a lot. When characters are attacking and they go, "How about this?" Like that makes perfect sense. But we just don't say that. That's a thing that you hear in anime. That's what Japanese people might say. It's like saying, "You're 10 years too early to fight me." That's a good insult. I understand it. But we just don't say that here. That's a Japanese thing. There's stuff like that. Zone of the Enders 2 got me because some of the dialogue felt like it was translated literally. And one of my favorite parts is when the bad guy goes like, "That's it, I'm going totally crazy now. I'm going to blow up this whole damn, I forgot what, moon or planet or whatever. Like, I'm doing a whole planet-busting attack." And your character's like, "Noman, you jerk." And I'm like, that, really? That's it? Like, Norm Macdonald did that, like, as a joke. Like, he had a joke where he talked about this guy who was, like, atrocious, like to the point where the audience is kind of like getting a little uncomfortable. He was like, "Oh, he would capture and kill people and cut parts off of them and eat them." You could say this guy's a real jerk. And like Zone of the Enders did that like unironically, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, he said that about Hitler, I think.
No, it was Albert Fish.
Oh, okay.
His Hitler joke was great, by the way. It's like,
similar.
I've been no, his Hitler joke was funny as hell. It was like, I've been reading up on Hitler, and you know what? The more I learn about this guy, the less I like him. It's like, thanks. He's been dead for decades, but all right, thank you.
Torturing the audience.
Always. The more I read about this guy, more I don't like him. Oh, cool. Where the hell have you been?
Oh, Norm. So good.
This guy's a riot.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm tired from our overly long episode earlier in the night. That is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions and drop your favorite Norm Macdonald moment down below. The Carrot Top one is off.
Calling it now, the moth joke.
It will, or the chairman of the board.
Oh, that was I can't believe he did that on live TV.
It's
That's
quite
like,
possibly one of the funniest
that's like the sickest
talk show
burn.
elements or talk show moments I've ever seen.
That was hysterical.
Yeah, and like Conan O'Brien says, I still get people saying like that was like the best moment of your show ever.
And it was like impromptu. How did he do that?
No, he's just that quick. He's just that
That was
quick.
unbelievable.
Yeah. And it happened like he came up with that like immediately after it was said.
Like they were like because Conan himself didn't know what the movie was going to be called, and like
neither did Norm. Yeah,
do something with that, you freak, and he immediately does something with that.
Like savaging the other guest right next to him. It's so good.
The thing is, on one hand, she knows what movie she's in, but on the other hand, she's there to promote the movie.
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
it's her
no.
job. Yeah, nah.
I'll tell you what it spells: box office poison.
Courtney Thorne-Smith. Oh, what a shame.
Feel bad, man.
Please keep us supplied with topics of with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything, but please PM me who you are and how you know me.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, like Dark Souls 3 and Obscure, getting in on exclusive live streams, did it right this time, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, including aforementioned Obscure.
If it's that obscure, how do you know about it?
Oh my god. And getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord that perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/lotusprince.
All right, everybody. We'll catch everybody on Tuesday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.